afternoon. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As the search for MH370 continues, we remain focused on narrowing the search area. With such strong cooperation from our international partners, the challenge is no longer diplomatic. It is now primarily technical and logistical. Because the scale of the investigation is now much more complex, the release of technical and logistical information will be handled differently. As you have seen today, this means that Malaysian Airlines will take the lead in communicating with the families. As the search area has narrowed, new challenges have arisen, including managing resources in a remote search and rescue effort, and we continue to work closely with our friends and partners as we seek to marshal more specific resources in support of the operations in that area. Last night, the Prime Minister announced that according to new analysis of satellite data, Inmarsat and UK Air Accidents Investigation Branch, AIBB, have concluded that flight MH370 ended in the southern Indian Ocean. Today, I will provide further details on how the data was analyzed as provided by us by UK AIB. This information is quite technical in nature, so although I will give you as much information as I can, I will not be in a position to answer questions about the data analysis today. We will be providing this information as a press release at the end of this press conference, and this is the info provided to us by AIB. We will accept written questions which will be answered as soon as possible. In recent days, Inmarsat developed a second innovative technique which considers the velocity of the aircraft relative to the satellite. Depending on this relative movement, the frequency received and transmitted will differ from its normal value, in much the same way that the sound of a passing car changes as it approaches the end and passes by. This is called the Doppler effect. The Inmarsat technique analyzes the difference between frequency that the ground station expects to receive and one that is actually measured. This difference is the result of the Doppler effect and is known as the burst frequency offset. The burst frequency offset changes depending on the location of the aircraft on an arc of possible positions, its direction of travel, and its speed. In order to establish confidence in its theory, Inmarsat checked its predictions using information obtained from 6 other B777 aircraft flying on the same day in various directions. There was good agreement. While on the ground at Kuala Lumpur Airport and during the early stage of the flight, MH370 transmitted several messages. At this stage, the location of the aircraft and the satellite were known, so it was possible to calculate system characteristics for the aircraft, satellite, and the ground station. During the flight, the ground station logged the transmitted and received pulse frequency at each handshake. Knowing the system characteristics and position of the satellite, it was possible, considering aircraft performance, to determine where on each arc the calculated burst frequency offset fits best. The analysis showed poor correlation with the northern corridor, but good correlation with the southern corridor. And depending on the ground speed of the aircraft, it was then possible to estimate the position at 0011 UTC, at which the last complete handshake took place. I must emphasize that this is not the final position of the aircraft. There is evidence of a partial handshake between the aircraft and the ground station at 0019 UTC. At this time, this transmission is not understood and is subject to further ongoing work. No response was received from the aircraft at 0115 UTC, when the ground earth station sent the next log-on, log-off message. This indicates that the aircraft was no longer logged on to the network. Therefore, sometime between 0011 UTC and 0115 UTC, the aircraft was no longer able to communicate with the ground station. This is consistent with the maximum endurance of the aircraft. This analysis by Inmarsat forms the basis for further study to attempt to determine the final position of the aircraft. Accordingly, the Malaysian investigation has set up an international working group comprising of agencies with expertise in satellite communication and aircraft performance to take this work forward. The new analysis I have described was convincing enough for the AAIB to brief the Prime Minister that MH370 flew along the southern corridor, and that its last position was in the middle of the Indian Ocean west of Perth. Within a few hours, the families had been informed, and the Prime Minister announced the new development to the world. As the Prime Minister stated, this type of analysis has never been done in an investigation of this sort. There remains more work to be done, and we are grateful to Inmarsat, AAIB, and the International Investigation Team who are continuing to work with the Malaysian authorities. This is a developing situation, and as soon as we know more, we will share it. Operational updates. As a result of this new data analysis, the search and rescue operation in the northern corridor has been called off. We have also stopped the search and rescue operation in the northern part of the southern corridor, close to Indonesia. All search efforts are now focused in the southern part of the southern corridor, in an area covering some 469,407 square nautical miles, and this is as against 2.24 million square nautical miles, which was announced on 18th of March. We are currently working to further narrow down the search area using the four methods I mentioned previously, which is to gather information from satellite surveillance, analysis of surveillance radar data, increasing air and surface assets, and increasing the number of technical and subject matter experts. On the assets deployed, 2 Korean aircraft left Subang Airport for Perth this morning to help the multinational search operation. No flights from Perth to the search area took place today due to bad weather. 6 Chinese ships are currently in the search area. They are expected to arrive within the vicinity of MH370, last known position, by tomorrow morning. This ship includes the icebreaker Zulong. HMAS Success is also currently in the search area. The American towed Pinger Locator, an instrument that can help find a black box, is currently en route to Perth and will arrive tomorrow. The system will be fitted into the Australian ship Ocean Shield, which is due to dock in Perth on the 28th of March. The Ocean Shield fitted with the towed Pinger Locator is due to arrive in the search area on the 5th of April. Ladies and gentlemen, the new analysis shared with investigation by Inmarsat and the AAIB has focused our efforts on the southern part of the southern corridor. Although yesterday's news was incredibly hard for the family members, as our Prime Minister said, it was released out of a commitment to openness and respect for the relatives, 2 principles which have guided us in our investigations.
Any other factors that influence you chose the timing of making the announcement, and why you can get the result that no people survived?
The information we got from satellite, yes, came on 12th March, but we just got the 6th handshake, and we have to look at that, and we shared that information with our US team, and the US team have to correlate the information and digest it, and from the result of the analysis of the US team together with the FAA team, they come out with two corridors, north and south, which was announced by the Prime Minister on the 15th of March, Saturday. And it takes that long because there's a lot of work to be carried out to analyze that sixth handshake. And the information that we got in Masset yesterday was a refinement of that information of the handshake, and that's been refined again, to be refined again, as mentioned by the Minister in the statement.
Can I just also remind you that we received satellite data from China involving sightings in the South China Sea, which made us detract ourselves from the search and rescue to search areas which we've already searched, and it was found to be negative.
The family members in Beijing at Lido Hotel, as Datuk Sri mentioned, the high-level delegation will go there. One of the things which I think they want to know is more detail, and the fact that yesterday's announcement did not carry much detail. Therefore, everybody is speculating we are holding back information. But I think with the high-level delegation going there to explain to them, I hope that will satisfy them in terms of why the current actions are being taken in terms of concentrating in the southern corridor.
I know, and I've always been consistent in saying to the family members, my only problem is giving them answer to the question that they really want to know, which is where their loved ones and the MH370 is. And until we can find the debris, and then we can confirm that the debris is from MH370, it is very difficult for me to have a closure for the families. But what I have indicated to them yesterday, and it's been consistent with the position of the Malaysian government, is that we will do everything within our powers, and this time with 26 other nations, to reduce that search area and narrow it. And as I stated in my statement earlier, by not focusing on the southern corridor, we have in fact narrowed the area from millions of nautical miles to hundreds, though it's still a huge task. But the narrowing of it, hopefully, and I'm an optimistic person, and whenever there is hope, even if it's against hope, we will do whatever it takes. And if the weather clears, then the search will continue for the debris, and hopefully that it will link up to the MH370, and then we can start answering that one question that they really want to know.